What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great Saturday so far. I'm with my co host, Brad. I know everyone's patiently waiting to hear some news. It's kind of like that SpongeBob gif, we're just kind of rolling our fingers and just waiting for some hope, some good news. Brad, have you heard anything heading into this weekend? Because we heard that Travaris Robinson, he was really in the hunt to be on the staff at the University of Miami, and a lot of people are excited about this.
Yeah, and as they should be, Paul. I mean, this is going to be a huge hire if we indeed end up getting Travaris Robinson. And from everything I've been told, man, you kind of read the tea leaves, and it looks like LSU and Corey Raymond are going to stick together. You see that Auburn has hired a defensive coordinator in Derek Mason, and he brought in his guys. So, I mean, that leaves Auburn and LSU kind of out of the picture, which were the only two teams besides maybe Florida who obviously just got Wesley McGriff's, who, from what I heard, was the other candidate for Miami. It was between Wesley McGriff's, Travarus Robinson, and then third would probably be DeMarcus Van Dyke. But with Wesley McGriff going to Florida, that kind of led Travaris Robinson and Miami to kind of just meet in a straight hallway, man, and it looks really good right now. I wouldn't be surprised if the deal has already been done as far as verbally, and that we're just kind of just playing that waiting game. I would expect the news to come out once DeMarcus Van Dyke gets announced at Utah State. It could be a couple more days from now, from what I heard. A lot of the staff is on vacation. So everything that we're hearing as far as background and rumors, this is all stuff that if it indeed it is happening, it's all happening verbally, just like what we're doing, through a Zoom or through a face call, anything like that.
Right.
But it won't be pen to paper. It won't be official till probably next week. But yes, for Cane fans, I would be very excited. Just continue to wait patiently. I'm almost 100% certain we have Travaris Robinson on the staff, and it's going to be huge, man, because I talked about it with a couple guys last night, and I'm going to go out on a ledge and kind of make a bold take. And I'm going to say that if Travaris Robinson is indeed our cornerback coach and most likely a co-DC, from what I heard, I believe that regardless what corners we get in the transfer portal, I think Al Blades Jr. will be the best cornerback on this football team next season, and he'll be far above the rest. I think his work ethic, the way he grinds, he's a student of the game. He has all the fundamentals. I think this whole social media stuff between him and fans going back and forth, I think it's kind of boosting him up, man, to be quite honest with you. I think he's got a lot of weight on his shoulders. I mean, the last name Blades carries on a tradition, man. That, like, people thought he was going to leave the University of Miami, and I don't see that, man. It's just, he's got a legacy to uphold, and I think all we needed in that cornerback room was the right coach that can actually develop these kids and teach him the right way and kind of be consistent. And I think Al Blades Jr. is going to be like Coach Robinson's like teacher's pet almost. Like, he's going to be that right-hand kid that's going to be teaching the rest of the guys how you do it right fundamentally. And I just expect a huge year for Al Blades Jr. And transfer portal talk, man. I'm almost certain that we will land another corner as well.
Yeah.
From everything I've heard, everything with obviously Barry Jackson earlier in the week about Tyreek Stevenson from Georgia possibly wanting to come to Miami. From what I heard, it's looking good as well. I believe the transfer portal, you should see a few names pop up here in the next couple of days when it's official. But I'm almost certain that Tyreek Stevenson will end up being in the transfer portal and only for a day or two, and then it will end up being a Miami Hurricane. But look out for another big name. I think one of the reasons why, especially with fans, we're trying to figure out what wide receiver we might go after in the portal, whether it be Samari Torre, Charleston Rambo, or Keith Corbin. I believe 2 out of 3 of those guys, like, we don't even have contact with anymore. Rambo is probably between us and SMU. SMU looks like a favorite right now, but I think there's a reason why he's a favorite, and I think it's because this coaching staff is kind of patiently waiting because they have their eye on someone else. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm going to tell you guys right now. In a couple days, there is going to be a huge wide receiver name in the transfer portal. And I think a lot of fans are going to be shocked when they see this name. And I think as soon as they see this name, they're going to know what I'm talking about. And Miami was a favorite early on in the recruiting. And I think it's going to be between us and maybe one or two teams. And I think Miami might already knew this was happening. And I think we might have an edge. And I think we might go all in on this guy. And if we land this kid, he's going to change our program day one.
He's a wide receiver?
He's a wide receiver.
Can you give out any hints to anyone watching at all? Like maybe just a little curveball or something, the conference he plays in or something, Brad? Or are you just going to keep it quiet?
I think if I mention any clue at all, I think it's hard to say a clue without giving it away because, it's a huge name. It's a huge name. So just be patient, and you should see Tyreek Stevenson and a few other guys enter the transfer portal. But it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see what happens with that, and if it indeed comes true. Who knows? He might enter the portal and he might go right back to where he was. But I know he's not happy, and I know some teams are looking at him.
Interesting, very interesting, exciting news moving forward. Look, Al Blades, like you said, Al Blades Jr. Be our best corner moving forward. Complimenting him will be to Corey Couch. I think those are your guys out in the boundary. DJ Ivy will provide nice depth, good role player moving forward. We bring in Tyreek Stevenson. We are creating depth with our cornerbacks in that position group. And, Travarus Robinson, who else would you want to coach these guys but an SEC coach? He's also an ace recruiter. This is a guy that will go out and grab kids in South Florida, in the state of Florida in general. One of the best recruiters out there in college football. Like you just stated, Brad, if Corey Raymond was to leave LSU, they were going to go after Travaris Robinson.
Yep.
Okay, this is a very good coach. Miami can potentially get on staff. J.C. Jackson, he was out of Immokalee, Florida. I think he started his career at Florida, then transferred to Maryland. He's in the NFL right now. I spoke with someone on Twitter named Kane's Freak, and he was telling me, J.C. Jackson, he was going to commit to Miami. Paul Lawrence had him reeling in, and Travaris Robinson flipped him instantly. This is an ace recruiter, and he's one of the best recruiters in the nation. Look, cornerback recruiting specifically has been an issue at Miami. We have 0 right now. I'm not counting Malik Curtis, okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's something needs to be corrected.
And with Tyreek Stevenson possibly joining Miami, he's not. I saw someone in here mention it, and they're exactly right. Tyreek Stevenson's not coming here to create depth. Tyreek Stevenson's coming in here to be possibly that number 1 or number 2 cornerback. I think a guy like DJ Ivy, a guy like Isaiah Dunston, a guy like Marcus Clark are the guys that would pretty much be building the depth. Right. But if Tyreek Stevenson does indeed come to Miami, I see him and Blades being that 1-2 punch. And then that kind of moves to Corey Couch back to the slot where he needs to be. Right? You see a lot of times where we kind of had to move Couch to the outside because we had no bodies. We had nobody dependable. And Couch did well for a majority of time. He got bullied and tested at times, but I thought he was probably our best cornerback this past year. But you bring in Tyreek Stevenson, now you have guys in the right roles where they need to be, and you have the coaching and Travaris Robinson. And I think the main key with T-Rob is you look at anywhere he went, whether it was Auburn, Florida, he builds relationships with these kids very early on, and he sticks with them. Not only when they're with the program, but even when they go to the pros, he builds a lot of relationships that end up helping them down the line. And I think that is a key in recruiting that we're starting to see happen great in our favor when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. You look at guys like Coach Fields, Coach Lashley. They're starting to build a lot of relationships with these kids. So, something similar to what Coach Banda did as well. But you look at T-Rob, and I think that's one of his strong suits is building the relationships, which unfortunately was something our last cornerback coach wasn't able to do at all. But yes, I think it's going to be great. And I think you're still going to see the same type of defense as far as the striker being in there, just because I think we have too many athletic guys on this football team, especially on the defense, that are going to need to get snaps and just be on the field. When you got a guy like Bubba Bolden coming back at safety, who knows if Gervin Hall finally makes that next step with a great coach now and T-Rob. Or, I mean, even if he doesn't, you have guys like Cam Kitchens, James Williams, Brian Balaam, Jalen Harrell. I mean, you got a lot of kids that are going to end up making an impact on this team that are going to have to find a way on this field to play. Now, as far as D-line coach, because that's obviously another position that I see a lot of fans asking about. From what I heard, I would really want Charlie Partridge, but I think that could be unrealistic at this point. I think Jess Simpson would also be another great candidate, but from what I've been hearing, I don't think Miami is kind of wedged that way. I think the guy to beat right now that everyone needs to look for is Chris Wilson, former D-line coach over at Colorado. If you don't know who that is, please, after the show, hit up Google, type in Chris Wilson. No, seriously, man, this guy, it has a resume. Me and my boy Max talked about it last night, and he was talking to Joe Williams, which was Quentin Williams' dad, obviously. Quentin's going to be plays defensive line for us. So Joe was talking about how he would like Jess Simpson and a couple other guys, and which I agree. But then we talked about Chris Wilson, and he went and looked over at some Chris Wilson tape, and just the way he carries himself, the way he talks to the players. He was the defensive line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl. He has been on NFL teams, and anywhere he has gone, he has developed, and he's the man. I mean, as soon as you look up his resume and the way he carries himself, and he's a good recruiter, this is the guy you want as your defensive line coach. And I would really like Chris Wilson from Colorado. That's my number one pick for D-line coach. I know Miami is somewhat interested. Second would probably be either Charlie Partridge or Jess Simpson. But yeah, man, I think if that Chris Wilson scenario doesn't happen, I think look for Travaris Robinson to have someone in mind. And if we indeed go that route and essentially Travaris Robinson decides who the D-line coach is, that kind of tells me that T-Rob is more of just not just a co-DC labeled. He's going to be the guy to coordinate this defense.
Just a little background on Chris Wilson, guys. He's been the defensive line coach, defensive ends coach under Bob Stoops at Oklahoma. He was a part of the Georgia staff in 2013 as defensive line coach. Went to the University of Southern California 2014 through 2015 and was a part of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles through 2016 through 2018 as their defensive line coach, then worked with the Arizona Cardinals as a defensive assistant. He has an outstanding resume, and I think it would be a great hire. I mean, anyone who worked under Bob Stoops, worked at other programs such as Georgia, University of Southern California, to be a defensive line coach in the NFL. That speaks volume.
And like you just mentioned, Paul, he was a defensive assistant on an NFL team, right? So he has some type of authority, coordinator ability on the defensive side of the ball. He's been around the game to where you're talking about essentially a defensive coordinator at a D-line coach. You add in him with a T-Rob who has coordinated defense and could possibly coordinate our defense. Now that's two coordinators, similar to what you did last year with Manny Diaz hiring Rhett Lashley, Coach Justice, Coach Likens, three offensive-minded guys who have all coached on the offensive side of the ball as a coordinator. You flip it around and you do it on the defense. That is huge, huge credit to Manny Diaz.
Brad?
So we indeed – T-Rob's official now.
It's official. It is official. He has been named on staff as defensive backs coach. That is the official statement. It is official.
That is a great breaking news right there. My boy Matt brought it in. That is amazing. I'm super excited, honestly. This is a home run hire, Miami Hurricane fans. I'm letting you know right now. This is very close to hiring the Rhett Lashley on offense. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens moving forward, what other pieces we name. So I haven't been able to look at my phone yet, but is he named just the cornerback coach, Paul, or have they not given let's see here. So Miami.
This is the first of multiple new hires for the Miami's defensive coaching staff. More moves will be finalized in the coming days. That is coming from Tim Reynolds.
Perfect.
So this is not just the first hire. We're going to hear more. And right now, everyone has stated his title is defensive backs coach. Now, Manny Diaz can make a statement stating, hey, he can be our co-defensive coordinator. I don't know. Brad, do you know if Blake Baker, where he stands with the coaching staff right now? Because it seems like Manny will be making some changes.
I think like was just reported, I think we got to wait a couple more days. Now that T-Rob's official and he's officially the cornerbacks coach, I think you're going to see some stuff trickle in moving forward. And I don't see T-Rob coming in just to be a cornerback coach. Unless we paid him a good amount of money, which could indeed happen because, like I mentioned a couple shows ago, Manny Diaz and the board met for the second time, and they have the money now to back it up. They're willing to spend money. So the fact that T-Rob is just labeled as a cornerback coach as of right now tells me two things. Either they're hiding something from us that they don't want us to know yet as far as how much T-Rob is going to be involved in this defense, or indeed T-Rob will only be a cornerbacks coach, but we paid him a good amount of money for him to do that. So I think either way, it's a win-win for Miami Hurricane fans. You got to be excited. I mean, it's Saturday. It's a great day outside, at least where I'm at. And we just landed T-Rob, man. We landed one of the best cornerback coaches of all of college football. And we should be very excited for this. Manny Diaz is, again, doing what he does every offseason, and that's landing great guys.
Some recruits that T-Rob has reeled in during his time around college football: Vernon Hargraves III. He's Quincy Wilson as well. Jordan Scarlett, J.C. Jackson, Treon Harris, if you remember his name. Tim Irvin was another name. Rosendo Lewis, remember him out of Deerfield Beach High School. Look, he's recruited a bunch of South Florida kids. He's very well known, very well respected. He spent a lot of time in the SEC at Auburn, South Carolina, Florida, to be under Will Muschamp's staff. Will Muschamp is a great defensive coordinator. He's a great, well-respected defensive mind in the game of football. Mm-hmm. This is an A-plus hire. Upgrade, no doubt about it. Specifically in recruiting, we're going to dominate South Florida. I can guarantee you we're going to dominate the state of Florida. We're now going to be competing with SEC programs.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. And I think, I think he's also a talent evaluator as well. You may see some under-the-radar 3-star recruits we go for that we believe in their skill set moving forward, and we will develop them. Huge upgrade, huge hire.
Very huge hire. And I think he's going to be one of those guys. I mean, he's an incredible recruiter, man. He's going to be, as soon as the whole COVID thing gets over with and coaches are allowed to literally be face-to-face in front of these players and their families, Coach Robinson, man, he is going to make one heck of a difference. I can tell you that, especially, man. What he did over at University of Florida, obviously I live here in Gainesville. Every player, man, on that team was praising him like crazy. He had guys like Matt Elam. I believe he had Keon O'Neal. I think he had a few other guys. I'm not 100% sure, but I know 3 or 4 guys he ended up having in the NFL. And he was a big part of that. So one thing for sure about T-Rob is he not only develops and recruits talent, but he produces talent to where they end up taking it to the next level and actually being pretty good. And that's something that's been missing for Miami in quite a while.
Brad, who do you think the other hires will be? I mean, you think a defensive line coach has already been hired per se, and we're just waiting for things to get finalized? Do you think maybe DeMarcus Van Dyke will be an assistant with T-Rob as well? I know a lot of people were kind of bringing up that idea. Hey, why not we just keep DeMarcus Van Dyke, give him a raise, as an assistant under Travarus Robinson, and he can learn, kind of as a mentor.
If that was the case, again, it goes back to two things. Either T-Rob's got to be co-DC because he's got to be more in depth with the whole defense and not just corners. Because I think, me personally, if he's just the cornerback coach at Miami, he doesn't need any assistance or help. He's got it. He's done it at bigger programs than us,
Right.
with a lot more bodies and a lot more better talent, unfortunately. So he has no problem doing that. But if we decide to keep DeMarcus Van Dyke along with T-Rob, again, that you have to open up your checkbook again. So you have to spend a little bit more money to keep DVD, add him as another position. And man, if that's the case, that tells me that Manny in Miami is very locked in on recruiting, especially in South Florida, to where we shouldn't miss at all anymore on defense. Because you talk about T-Rob being a recruiter, DeMarcus Van Dyke being a recruiter, and DeMarcus Van Dyke, if he does get promoted, that means Kelly Lockett will end up taking DeMarcus Van Dyke's old spot, which again involves heavy recruiting. So now you're talking about T-Rob, DeMarcus Van Dyke, and Telly Lockett all on the trail in South Florida. That is scary. I mean, it's got a ring to it, man. You talk about T-Rob and Telly on the trail. Yeah, it's got a nice ring to it, and I think that is scary for other programs, especially locally in Florida. I mean, I think we could start poaching some kids away from Florida. I think we can start poaching kids, obviously, away from Florida State, like we have been before. But hey, man, Florida State's one of those teams where I'm going to let you know right now, we can't take them lightly this next coming year. They are doing a tremendous job in the transfer portal right now. They are pretty much taking a blueprint from what Manny Diaz did, and they are getting a lot of high-end talent. And whatever Coach Norvell is selling them over there, it's working right now. So that's a team to look out for. There's going to be a few other names that hit the portal here soon. And like I said, stay patient with that, because there are going to be some big names. And I do hope that we land Tyreek Stevenson now that we got T-Rob. I think it's gonna be nice.
Tyreek Stevenson coming in. Well, let's let it, if it's pending per se, that would be a huge get for the program moving forward. Ultimately, whatever happens with the transfer portal, we need a corner coming in for next year. And I think Travarus Robinson will bring in a guy that he believes in, that has the right skill set he wants to coach. I'm excited. I'm excited about recruiting. A lot of people are throwing out Earl Little Jr.'s name, one of the top cornerbacks in the nation, American Heritage Plantation. I think we're in a much better position moving forward with Travaris Robinson as our defensive backs coach. I strongly believe that.
We were already, unfortunately, even with Mike Rump as our cornerback coach, we were still in a really good position with Earl Little Jr. because his family, obviously, as we know, Earl Little Sr., he is a diehard Hurricane. That man goes anywhere he goes, he's wearing orange and green from head to toe, and you best believe he's got an input in what his son is thinking about. And obviously, we were already high on the list for Earl Little Jr. Our boy Gabby Urrutia already put in an early crystal ball for him to come to Miami.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, with T-Rob, man, it's gonna be nice, man. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to get this D-line coach announced. If a D-line coach gets announced within the next 48 hours, I'm almost certain that it's Chris Wilson. He's been the name I've been hearing from everywhere on both ends of the sides. So it'll be interesting. I think Miami fans should be real happy with the hire today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, this was an A+ hire, and you got to give credit to Manny Diaz. He definitely did acknowledge a situation at hand. 0 cornerback commits. We needed to reevaluate the staff defensively. He brought in Travaris Robinson as defensive backs coach. Nothing has been named as co-defensive coordinator right now. I don't know if that title is still being fixed. I don't know what's happening. We don't know what's happening. Some people feel confident Blake Baker will be let go. Some people don't feel confident, So I think we just have to be patient and let Manny Diaz work. But I think he understands that, things need to be fixed, because if not, he will lose his job if he doesn't make changes. And I think he will. He is making changes, as we've seen in. Hey, whoever the next couple hires are, it's going to be very interesting. And, I'm still curious about Packy and Baker moving forward, because I don't think if you're going to get rid of Rump, you should have gotten rid of both those guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could eventually end up turning out to where these guys end up getting pushed out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But even if they don't, let's say worst case scenario, they stay on. You add a Travaris Robinson with a potential good D-line coach. that's gonna kind of hide some of the band-aids and mistakes that Coach Pack and Coach Baker were doing, and it kind of lets a little bit of stress off their shoulders because they're not having to worry about as much things as what they were doing before. I agree with North Fresh. We need a pretty good linebackers coach, but at the same time, man, the way our defense was ran under Coach Baker, um, and not to mention our corners and our secondary were very suspect to where we kind of had to play a few yards off the ball, where now we could play a lot more aggressive, not only in the secondary, but the linebackers will be more aggressive. The defensive line will be more aggressive. And I think that was one of our problems, especially on the second unit on linebackers. These kids were hesitant, man. They were waiting for the plays to develop. They were waiting for the running backs to almost get halfway through the hole until they start reacting, or the linebackers would literally just go on the opposite end of where the play was getting ran. And I think when our defense starts to be more aggressive again, like you saw in the years past, I think it's going to help every position group. And I think you're going to see that moving forward. You're going to see an aggressive defense because I know for a fact that's how T-Rob coaches his corners. You're going to be playing man-to-man right up on the receiver almost every play. So this whole, 3rd and 3, and we're having our corners 7 yards to 10 yards back of the football, that's not going to happen anymore. So right. I'm very happy.
No, 100% agree. Brad, a name like Travaris Dawson out of Fort Myers, is he back in play for this 2021 class, or are we done with this class? Because, Manny Diaz did state they were adding a cornerback shortly. Seemed like reports were saying from 24/7 Sports we were going after Travaris Dawson. He decommits from Auburn. Gus Malzahn leaves. Do you think we will get a high school corner moving forward, or all eyes are on the transfer portal?
From what I heard, everything's on the transfer portal. I think the last moves that we do will all be portal based. I think there's already a good amount of players in the portal, and I think there's going to be even more amount potential players, like I mentioned earlier in the show, in the portal that we're going to go after. But I think T-Rob, if he's really close to a corner that we haven't heard of or nothing's going on our end, I think if T-Rob happens to pull a kid from high school out by himself, then that could be a potential. But other than that, I don't think so. I think the staff is really convinced on going straight portal the rest of the way.
Hey, I'm all for it. I think we're a little bit late to the party with getting recruits. Kind of recruiting last minute. It's a tough gamble with late commitments. So, Tyreek Stevenson, he's an option once he potentially if he does enter his name in the portal. So I'm all for it moving forward, man. And this is really going to help recruiting. That's what I'm excited about most. Because that was the issue, really. There's 6 defensive backs playing in the national title game from the state of Florida.
It's obviously coaching, in my opinion, because we have don't get me wrong, we don't have a 5-star corner, but we have good 4-star corners. We have 3-star corners that had the potential. We saw it in high school. Why is it that when we miss on 3-star and 4-star guys, aka Elijah Moore, Tutu Atwell, when they go to other schools, you see the potential, you see the growth, you see the development. These guys are game changers, but yet you get a highly 4-star like Irvin Hall, and you haven't seen much development in him. You get a high-star 4-star corner in DJ Ivy and Al Blades, and you don't see the development as much. That goes to coaching. That goes to development. When you have a guy like T-Rob as your cornerback coach, all that is going to change. So all these question marks and all these things that we think about these players on this football team, you got to throw that out the window right now because they're gonna start getting taught the right way. I mean, it's hard to put a lot of blame on these kids when they're getting taught things that you're not supposed to, or it's not the right way. I'm sorry. I don't care if we had Tyson Campbell, if we had Jason Marshall, if we had Patrick Surtain Jr. on this team this past year. You're still going to see those guys play 7 yards off the ball on 3rd and 3, and that wide receiver is still going to get a first down. That's coaching. That's developing. That's putting guys in the right position, which is something that we haven't done. And I think now you're going to see a lot of improvement from a lot of players on this defense. And again, I think the D-line coach is going to be just as big as a hire as the defensive back coach position, because those are the 2 position groups where you see the talent at times. You see the depth that we're starting to create on defensive line. We need to keep the right guys to support them and coach and develop them. We have done a very good job on the defensive line to, at least when we lose a defensive line coach, the next guy that comes in, he kind of holds his own. And this is going to be the first year, in my opinion, for the Miami Hurricanes where we don't have a proven defensive lineman as far as on the ends. So it's going to be very important to have a very good coach. And I think Chris Wilson fits that.
294 people joining us 30 minutes in. Thank you so much, guys. We greatly appreciate your support. This is such a fun time, man. The off season, everything going on, with the off season and its changes moving forward, man, it really is a fun time. Just to talk, the rumors and the, kind of the leads, what's going on, around the football program. And, Brad, I think we've expressed it enough, Board of Trustees, people were fed up with this, people were fed up, so, hey, they put their foot down and look, we got a great football coach and we fought out other programs to land him because Florida, they were interested, Auburn as well, even LSU.
I will say this. So some fans might hate me for this, but I it's a blessing in disguise, obviously, but in some of me, I almost feel like we got lucky. And T-Rob kind of fell in our laps because I don't think these other schools that we're mentioning kind of fought for T-Rob as much as we did. Because I know Wesley McGriff's was pretty high on our list, but T-Rob probably was number one. And I think Florida could have easily gotten T-Rob instead of Wesley McGriff. And we could be talking about the same scenario and getting McGriff's instead of T-Rob. And I think with LSU, they're pretty confident in Corey Raymond, obviously, and then Auburn going their separate ways and going with Derek Mason. So him getting his guy. But I think we possibly could have gotten lucky and it kind of just fell in our lap to where it's thankful that other teams like Florida and LSU didn't really go in harder on T-Rob. And, hey, there was some chatter about some NFL teams as well possibly interviewing T-Rob too. So I do know that T-Rob was more interested in sticking to college than going to the NFL. So I wasn't too worried about the rumors on that. But at the end of the day, we got a very good cornerback coach. Today's a great day to be a Hurricane, as always. And, hey, man, we all are skeptical on Manny Diaz. Some of us are still skeptical on Manny Diaz because, unfortunately, some of his boys are still on staff, which is kind of the problem. But you got to give credit where it's due. And Manny Diaz, time and time again, when this offseason hits, there is not a more exciting program in the offseason of football in the past 3 years than the Miami Hurricanes. And we're doing it again. And I think in the next couple of days, like I mentioned at the beginning of this show, man, there's going to be some big names in the transfer portal. And I think Miami is going to dip their hand in a few.
Brad, I know the outside linebacker from University of Southern California, it seems like he's considering more Michigan State moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to wrap up the class with the transfer portal, one wide receiver, one corner, and call it a wrap for this offseason, or are we looking to add one more position group, you think?
I think we could possibly add one or two more positions in the position groups. I think Miami is kind of playing with the idea that the NCAA is going to at least let us maybe get like another 5 additional scholarships at most maybe. But for anybody that follows recruiting, transfer portal, and just inside of the Miami program right now, there's too many targets that Miami is going after to only believe that they only have 2 spots. That's my opinion. So that's where I'm at with it. Again, Mr. HD just brought up a good point. Mark Anthony Richards is another name. I know for a fact that Miami has talked to him. I know there's mutual interest in both sides. So the fact that we're kind of talking to him as well, at running back, we're kind of solid at running back, in my opinion, unless maybe Robert Burns happens to leave and we just need another running back to just have more depth. But we have a lot of guys that we have our eye on, and there's going to be more in the portal that I believe we will have our eye on. So I think we're playing with more than 2 spots, in my opinion. It's just right now, officially, we only have 2 spots. Okay,
absolutely. And Mark Anthony Richards, a lot of people were talking about him. You think he's an option at all?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Only because I know staff has kind of talked to him. I don't know how much of an option he is, but I know they're interested. Both parties are interested.
Gotcha. Sounds good. All right, Brad. Anything we haven't touched up on 34 minutes into this show you can think of? One thing I am thinking of right now, N'Kosi Perry did enter the transfer portal. Best of luck
Yep.
in his college football career moving forward. Wish him the best of luck. Any program that picks him. Where do you think Miami stands now? We have D'Eriq King. He is rehabbing. We wish him, speedy recovery moving forward this offseason. Jake Garcia, Tyler Van Dyke, and Peyton Matoka are left.
Yep. So, I kind of hinted in the show previously that I knew one or two other guys from our team that would hit the portal. He was obviously one of them. I think you're still going to see maybe another one or two guys in the trenches end up leaving Miami in the next few days. But as far as Kosi leaving, man, best of luck to him. He deserves it. I think he would fit great at a school like FAU. Stay in Florida. Pair him up with a guy like Willie Taggart, who I think could probably benefit with N'Kosi Perry. So I would look out for a team like FAU possibly. And who knows if Kosi likes the cold, man, but maybe Utah State would be an option too. Now that Banda is over there and most likely D. So that's an option. But, man, we're starting to get some news in the past few days that there are a lot of recruits that we have as far as commits in this 2021 class that we thought were going to be early enrollees. And it's starting to look like they're not going to be early enrollees. Jake Garcia being one of them, which could potentially hurt his development early on, because I think right now, looking at it, who knows the timetable of D'Eriq King. And even if D'Eriq King is back with the football team by Alabama, even if he's 100% healthy, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want him his first game being against Alabama. He's a mobile quarterback. The way he plays a game, he's not going to hold off. He's not going to do nothing but 110%. And that's his second knee injury on that same knee. And he's a mobile quarterback going against Alabama your first time back. I would be a little worried about that. I wouldn't mind holding off D'Eriq King till maybe game 3, game 4 against like a Michigan State, Appalachian State. And that kind of puts all eyes on Tyler Van Dyke, man. He's been under Rhett Lashley for a year now. He has the size for sure. He is a huge guy on this football team. He's one of the biggest guys on the team. And he's starting to learn from Rhett Lashley, from D'Eriq King. And I think it's his time, man. I think he is going to be the starting quarterback against Alabama. I don't see Jake Garcia being ready in that time. I don't think D'Eriq King will be 100%. And even if he is, I wouldn't waste him on Alabama, unfortunately. I'm obviously probably going to pick us to win just because I'm a diehard Hurricane fan. But obviously, that's just my heart, not my head talking. And I think regardless with the D'Eriq King, it's going to be tough to beat Bama. And I would rather save him later on, because looking at this season coming up, man, this is a very interesting schedule. You look at this is one of the toughest schedules Miami's had in the last 5 years, for sure.
Yeah.
All of our away games are pretty big. All of
North Carolina.
All of our non-conference games are going to be tough games. So we're going to have to build a good coaching staff on defense, and I think Manny's slowly doing that.
Brad, let's do some questions real quick. People have been shooting up the comment section with Elliot Schellenberg. Hi, guys. Associated Press said first of a few hires for defense. Any idea who else is getting replaced? I know we talked about defensive line coach. We believe there's already a hired coach on staff. Brad stated. Any other idea you think they would be adding to the staff?
I don't. D-line coach is the only one I'm pretty confident in. The only name that's been tossed around is Chris Wilson. So if we do indeed hire a D-line coach in the next couple days, I think it's going to be Chris Wilson. But other than that, I don't know. I think it kind of really falls on Manny Diaz and T-Rob's situation right now. How much are we going to delegate to T-Rob? Because at the end of the day, that could potentially open up 2 more coaching spots, and Packy and Blake Baker.
Any information on Mike Harley and what's holding his decision up? Ultimately, I believe Mike Harley will be returning. I'm very confident in that matter.
Yeah, I do. I think Mike Harley should come back, and I think he will come back. I think he's probably maybe a 7th round grade right now as far as the NFL. Okay. And I think I mean, until some more names pop in the portal, I'm not confident that we have a legit wide receiver one on this football team. I got a lot of confidence in some incoming freshmen, but you can't put that much expectations on a kid like Romello Brinson or Jacoby George to be that number one wide receiver.
Absolutely.
And I think Mike Harley, I mean, he doesn't have the size or the physical stature to be your typical wide receiver one. But I think the way Rhett Lashley runs his offense, and you need that kind of deep threat guy, I think Mike Harley does fit that bill, and he has been the most dependent receiver on this football team. His work ethic is phenomenal, and I think he would definitely not only benefit coming back, but I think everybody else in the wide receiver room could benefit from Mike Harley as well. So, yeah, I think he comes back.
Brad, this transfer portal player that Miami is interested in hasn't released his name yet. Will he be eligible to play next year?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, he will be eligible. Gotcha.
Yeah, he should be. All these guys that are going to be hitting the portal should be eligible. I think Tyreek Stevenson, if we end up landing him, should be cornerback number 1 or 2 on this team moving forward. But yeah, by Monday, Tuesday of next week.
Monday, Tuesday. Okay.
I would say I would give it around that time. It could be sooner than that. Who knows? I know usually when a guy fills out paperwork and says he's pretty much entering the transfer portal, it takes about 48 hours for that to come official. And you know what? I'm gonna say this. It's a little nugget. It's not really a nugget. It's me guessing, but it's a realistic guess. And for anybody that's on Twitter a lot, Mike Harley yesterday put an eye emoji out and tweeted, I am willing to bet that Mike Harley tweeted those eye emojis because there is a former St. Thomas Aquinas player that will be entering the portal. And it could be someone in the same position group as Mike Harley. So I think he might have caught some buzz and some word on it, maybe even from him or from a friend. And obviously it's not official yet, but I'm willing to bet that there's going to be a St. Thomas Aquinas guy entering the portal, and that could potentially lead to what Mike Harley was hinting at. That's just a guess. I'm not saying that's true or not, but I'm willing to bet that that's what that's about.
Very interesting. We'll find out shortly. Who do you think will be the starter moving against Alabama? Do you think it's Tyler Van Dyke, Jake Garcia, or do you think King will be ready by then?
I think it's going to be Tyler Van Dyke. I think, again, me personally, and I think I've talked to a lot of other King fans that are pretty lovable by the fan base, and we all can agree that De'Aaron King shouldn't go out there first game back against Alabama. We've been waiting to see what a guy like Tyler Van Dyke can do, and I think it's his time, man. I think unfortunately it's his first time is going to be against Alabama, but this first game against Alabama is going to tell a lot to Cane fans, because not only for Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback, but every position group on this football team. You talk about the offensive line group in particular. This is their second year with Coach Justice, so I expect the play to take it up a notch. Not only because we're going to have more bigger bodies on the offensive line, but another year behind Coach Justice, I expect this offensive line to go to the next level that we're wanting to see, which is going to open up more holes for our running backs, which is going to give more time for the quarterback to see our wide receivers. And that first game against Alabama, we're going to get knocked around pretty much a lot of the game. We're going to get banged up. But if we could get through that game, no major injuries, I think moving forward, man, that's going to be the toughest team we play all year. And I think any other team we play up against, I think each position group is going to be pretty ready moving forward. And you're going to see a nice upcline of improvement throughout the season. It's hard to have Alabama week 1, but at the same time, it does bring some benefit to your football program. And I think one is it being your team's going to be a lot more ready right off the jump, which is something that Miami's football program has been missing for a while, is starting off hot early. And I think after Alabama, every other team we play is not going to be nowhere close to the athleticism and just the way they play.
A lot of early enrollee players that were expected to come in are no longer going to enroll early.
Correct.
Jake Garcia, though, I did hear it was 50-50 as of right now. So are you hearing that as well?
I'm hearing it's 50-50, but I got a source close to me that's saying that he's still trying to finish up on a couple classes that were holding him back. So it's gonna be right down to the wire for Jake Garcia to enroll. But you got most of the all the Palmetto guys won't be enrolling early. So guys like Rashard Smith, Leonard Taylor, I know Romello Brinson, Khalil Brantley. So the Northwestern guys as well won't be enrolling early. So you're talking about half our not half our class, but a good amount of our class that's not going to be enrolling early anymore. Which again, that in my opinion, you got to go portal. You got to get some guys that are going to be ready right off the bat that could kind of help with that gap of being ready very quickly to where it's a smooth transition for some of these young guys. So I expect a wide receiver. I expect a defensive lineman of some sort. I expect a linebacker and a corner are going to be the 4 players, group positions that we go after in the portal.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think those 4 to wrap it up, and moving forward, hey, let's just focus on our first game of the year with Alabama, get our staff ready to go, and let's build off of this class because, like I said, we're ranked 11th right now. I think it's a very good class with some very good players, man. And James Williams, Leonard Taylor, I think that's the future. Cam Kitchens, Romello Brinson offensively. I mean, those are guys who are going to be the future of your program. And let's get some good players out of the transfer portal, like Brad just stated.
Yeah. And just to let you guys know, on Thursday, when we come live again, hopefully we're going to have some live music for y'all while you're waiting for the show to start. And then also our guest for next Thursday. It's been a long time since he's put out a pod, ladies and gentlemen. And I've been talking to him about every other day. I'm like, hey, man, I'm telling you right now, Cane fans miss you. Cane fans want to hear from you. So on Thursday, we're going to be having the legendary John Michaels join us, talking about the coaching staff hires, what he thinks about the program, how he thought we ended. So if you got some kids watching, that's going to be one of those where you might want to put some earbuds on because John Michaels brings the heat always. And I'm looking forward for John to join the show again with us.
And guys, just so you know, I mean, people were very upset. They are trying to push Blake Baker out, like Brad stated, like it's been previously stated on the show. So if you're curious about Blake Baker, I mean, just to let you know, there are things going behind the scenes that he may even be pushed out, even if it's under Manny Diaz's discretion.
Yeah.
So just look out for that, guys. Brad, anything else before we wrap up today's show? We kind of do it on the fly. It always works out great. Over 330 people joining us. We greatly appreciate it, man. Couldn't do the show without you guys.
Absolutely, man. This is all for Cane fans, honestly. I mean, we have people that hit us up all the time saying how much they like our show. And honestly, we like y'all just as much, man. We appreciate y'all tuning in. This is all for you guys. I will mention just a couple other things. I saw our boy Anthony just chimed in as far as transfer portal guys. Pi Gagliotti, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's between Michigan State and Miami. I believe, me personally, I think he's going to go to Michigan State. Yep. Tyreek Stevenson, like we mentioned earlier, I expect him to hit the transfer portal here soon and Miami to be the favorite. You got Charleston Rambo, like we talked about earlier. It's between Miami and SMU. I expect SMU to be the favorite. Irie Gilbert, tight end. I expect him to go to either Georgia or Florida, Alabama being the dark horse. And that's about it as far as portal. I can't really mention the other big names I was hinting at. I want to wait till those are official, but expect some more big names to hit the portal, a couple from one school in particular. And then as far as guys on our team, I did hint that there was a couple guys I expect to enter the portal. I think wide receiver room is pretty clogged up. So expect maybe 1 or 2 guys in that position group, maybe to possibly transfer. This is just me guessing. And then 1 or 2 guys in the trenches, whether it's offense or defensive line.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Enjoyed the NFL. I think it's the wild card games today.
Yes,
Dolphins
sir.
are playing as well.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see how it goes for them. We'll see how it goes for them. Anyways, guys.
Okay, last but not least, man, we got to end the show on a big laugh, right? So shout out to the Maryland Terrapins and possibly getting Dan Enos.
Listen, Dan Enos, man, the great hire.
Oh, amazing hire. Dude, Maryland's going to do awesome. I actually want Maryland on our schedule now every year with Dan Enos on staff.
Listen, man,
Great.
and they're trying to recruit in South Florida, in the Miami area as well. So hey, maybe he can be that bridge because of his time at Miami. So I gotta love it, man.
If he's the bridge, he is London Bridge, because that bridge is gonna fall down real quick.
Talia Tagovailoa is still their quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. Hey, maybe we'll see him in the transfer portal. We'll do Talia to the U next.
For sure. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in, and it's all about the youth.
Always, guys. Peace.
Peace.